Today, I'm pleased to be speaking about Birmingham, but I'm sure Andrew will forgive me that I'm not talking about Coventry or our other Leicester Midland scheme, which is Leicester, or any of our other schemes. Because I've got a narrow brief, it's nonetheless important to talk about Birmingham because it is a large city and it's been an important part of what we've been doing over the last few years. And it's nice to see people like Sandy, who was involved with it as well, and then we've got colleagues from other cities here as well who probably know the city well, so bear with me if you've seen some of this before. So, the Birmingham District Energy Scheme. I talked to you a bit about Birmingham, a bit about Copley, a bit about the District Energy Scheme, or a lot about the District Energy Scheme, a bit about procurement timeline, and some of the benefits to the end users. Now, you may well know, I'm sure you'll know where Birmingham is, having found your way here, but there's a little bit of background about Birmingham. And when we embarked on this particular scheme, we were very pleased to be working with a city of its size and one that was so enthusiastic about developing district energy. And you heard from Councillor Lisa Trickett today. She's still as enthusiastic as some of her colleague members, and that's great. And it's such a key component when you're developing these schemes that you have an enthusiastic local authority, both members and officers. Copley UK, we provide. We're a leading provider of integrated services. You can see what we do there in energy, technical, FM and business processes for built environment, and we are a leader in district energy. And so these are some of our district energy schemes. And you can see the collection here in the Midlands, Leicester, Birmingham, Coventry, and Berryfields, with others slightly further afield, and our biggest scheme being down on the Olympic Park. Just a few facts and figures about Copley, and as it will become NG in due course, but we won't dwell on those. I've put this slide up not to teach my grandmother how to suck eggs in terms of what networks are, and the next one, which also deals with CHP very briefly, is just to remind you how important the networks are. These are the most important parts. People concentrate very much on the technologies, but these networks are so important, and they're going to be in the ground for 50 or 60 years, and you're going to use different technologies in that time. You're going to integrate different technologies. But the network itself is critically important, and I just want to make that point because it's often overlooked. When I go and talk to a new prospective customer, they usually concentrate on the technology and not really on the network. I'm not going to dwell on here too much on this, but just to say, as we're talking today about low-carbon England, even using gas in combined heat and power, and you can use other fuels as well, and we frequently do, you can get tremendous savings and tremendous efficiencies. So just bear that in mind. I don't know how much longer we're going to have natural gas, but whilst we're using it, get as much in terms of efficiency from it. And don't forget as well that there are a range of benefits to end users on these schemes. You've got capital cost savings, whole life cost savings. We can provide pricing security. There are good carbon savings, as Tanya's already mentioned this morning. Something which I think is important, risk transfer. We take on a lot of the risk transfer. The providers take on the risk. As an accountant, that was always very important to me, that I could transfer risk. And one which is often overlooked is space saving. The smaller plant or centralized plant, really, rather than having conventional plants, can actually produce some very good space savings. And when you're building in city centres, that's a critically important part of the equation. And then the security of supply is very high as well, and that's been demonstrated so many times over the last few years. Now let's get to the meat of what I was going to talk about, which is Birmingham. We have 3 separate district energy networks with 6 energy centres. That's Aston, Birmingham Children's Hospital, the Barclaycard Arena, which was previously called the National Indoor Arena, the International Convention Centre, the Library of Birmingham, and BNSS. Thank you very much. I ought to remember that one because that is the latest jewel in the crown down the bottom there, but I always forget the acronym. Thank you. And these are the facts and figures associated with them. My colleagues will never forgive me for forgetting New Street Station, which we connected this year. So you can see how deep and some of the works that had to be done to get the new interconnections in. And we were working against a very tight timetable down here in Birmingham to make sure that we could do that. This is the structure for Birmingham District Energy Company. The overall structure with the ENGIE shown at the top. We have a number of district energy companies, so Southampton Geothermal Heating Company, Birmingham District Energy Company, Bloomsbury Heat and Power, East London Energy Company, and Leicester and Coventry. And we create new companies really to give them specific identities, and so particularly so that the kudos can be reaped and the prestige can be reaped locally. But there's nothing very scientific in that. So this is how we started in Birmingham. When I first joined, it was the first scheme that I worked on, and it was a delight to work with such an enthusiastic partner. We had three core partners, which was the Children's Hospital, Aston University, and the City Council, and the City Council being the pivotal one in that, but the others were equally important. It's tri-generation, producing heat, chilled water for air conditioning, and electrical power, and it was a 25-year concession. And very importantly, it's contributing a lot, I think, to the CO2 reductions in Birmingham. I also sit on the zero carbon working party that Lisa mentioned this morning, and these schemes contribute very largely to that sort of initiative. So we're pleased to be contributing and hope to be contributing more as we expand the schemes. This is the network overview. Started with Broad Street, then we moved to the Children's Hospital, which is it's part of the East Side scheme, then Aston University. And then we always envisaged that we would link the schemes together. And this year, the means by which we're going to link those schemes was put in place, which is the New Street Station connection. And we've still got a little bit of work to do up at Aston to finish off some of the links. But the components there, and we will link the scheme as originally envisaged, and it's pleasing to see that, and it's also pleasing to see New Street Station redeveloped, how good it's looking, and the fact that when you go in there, they publicise the fact they're linked to the district energy scheme, so that's good. Am I all right for time, Andrew? 2 minutes, fine. Okay, this is the Broad Street scheme, which is the first one, and you can see many of the main buildings there, and that's a few of the important stats about that particular scheme. Energy centres behind the ICC. This is the overview of that particular scheme. And that's the energy centre, which is alongside the canal. Very grand looking energy centre there. And on the east side, we've got Aston University, a very large load. And that one has been expanded, adding new connections on that particular one. Birmingham Children's Hospital, again, another very large load and a key component and an original partner. And then this is how the east side schemes are linked together. And then the interconnection is going to be through, as we said, through New Street Station, as you can see on this particular node here. So that's pleasing to see that happening. This is the New Street Station. Heat On was this year. You probably saw the announcements when it was opened. We've got CHP within there. Put a lot of piping in to connect it all up, and spent quite a bit of money really in investing in that particular one. But it's pleasing to see that it's now on. These were some of the works that we had associated with that. And this is a summary really of the Birmingham District Energy Company, which we started in 2006. And one of the pleasing things about it is the speed with which it's grown. And a lot of the credit for that must go down, I think, to the various partners, and particularly to Birmingham City Council, because they had that vision and they've supported it, and they've encouraged others to join as well. And that's really been the case in many of our other schemes. Certainly Coventry and Leicester as well. So that local authority support has been pivotal. That was the timeline, which shows you we started in 2003 and then moved to 2010. We're now up in 2015, nearly 2016, and continue to expand the scheme. Our mantra is usually start small, think big, and that's precisely what happens within Birmingham. We will continue to expand it as long as we're able to. So that's me, and thank you very much for listening. My colleague Sam is here. He has a stand outside. If you want any brochures or any other information or scheme plans, then do please see Sam. Thank you.